guys, this is Bethany Bayless, and we're talking to Jim Wang live from Colorado, and we're going to talk about honing your message and knowing the purpose for every blog you create. Jim, help me out here.
Right.
You've had a blog for some time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a couple years?
Yeah, maybe 15, I don't know. What year is it?
It is 2019.
14 years?
Yeah.
14 years.
Your blog is a teenager.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so my first one is a teenager if it weren't dead. But this one is much younger. My latest one, Wallet Hacks.
Okay.
It's about 3 years old.
Okay.
So it's an infant.
Well, it's in its toddler stages.
Yeah.
But you already learned so much from before. And we were talking a little bit earlier about knowing the purpose of the blog posts that you post, right?
Yes.
So what is the very first way that people can publish a blog if they have an intention behind it?
Yeah, so one of the things that I see a lot of people sort of make mistakes on whenever they're writing a blog post is they don't think about why they're doing it from a business perspective. Like, sure, you may want to tell a story, you want to share something about yourself, but if your blog is a business and you want to think of it that way, every post has to have one purpose, a single purpose that you can, think about, and as you're writing it, keep that in the back of your mind so that you don't get distracted. And that by that purpose, I mean, some blog posts exist to generate income, whether it's affiliate income, advertising income, whether you want to sell a product, an ebook, whatever. Some blog posts are about, sharing more about yourself, connecting with your readers, telling them stories about your history, how you got where you are, so they get a better understanding of your perspective so that they can know whether or not they should be reading more, how they can relate to you. And then other ones are whether you're doing it to, network with other bloggers. Maybe you're doing some sort of roundup where you're linking to a bunch of your blogging friends and you want to get some publicity to them. So every time you write a blog post, you have to think very carefully, what do I want to do? And try to focus on that and not try to do multiple things.
Right.
And so like an example of a great post where you're trying to build a relationship is, say your About Me post, right? You'll say, oh, I'm Jim Wang, I live in Maryland, my family's this and that. Your focus should be on connecting with people, not say selling something, right? If I suddenly was telling you about my family and where we live and then threw like a credit card offer, you'd wonder like, what's the deal with this guy? Why is he sending me, this way for him to make money in a place where I'm expecting to be learning about him?
Right. It's almost like they are duped by you. Of like, oh my goodness, I was connecting with you emotionally, but were you just connecting with me emotionally to sell me something?
Yeah. And the problem then is, one, you don't do either of the two things. You will not make money putting any kind of affiliate offer on a page where you're sharing your story. And two, you're not going to have that authentic connection because in the back of their mind, they're thinking, why is he telling this story? Is he trying to like sucker me in?
Yeah.
I know that maybe a credit card is not the right example, but it feels a little off. And when that happens, you lose that person. And if they were interested enough to read an about page or read a blog post, you don't want to lose them for that reason. Maybe they don't connect, that's fine. But just because you decided you want to put on a credit card offer or some other affiliate offer just seems a little silly.
Right. And so is it one of these things that like you should have a certain amount of each category each month, or is it that structured, or is it kind of like you're sitting down to write your next post and you're thinking, I think it's time for this story, or I have this great relationship that I love to tell my readers about? Is it random, or is it very strategic in how many times or how many buckets you carry in a month, right?
I think you need to mix it up a little bit.
Right.
Because if you have someone who's, everyone's reading or a follower of a blog for a particular reason, whatever that is. Maybe someone reads Wallet Hacks because they want to read about the newest like financial products. Maybe they just want to hear about the challenges that my family's facing. And so you have to make sure whenever you start thinking about who you're writing for, you every so often mix in something that speaks to them. Let's say you have, in a particular month, let's say 1,000 people come visit. Not every one of them is there for the same reason, but you need to sort of feed them every time, like periodically. And whether that's once a month, every other week, whatever the cadence you feel is right, you can ask them, you can email, you can email out a survey and ask them what they're most interested in and sort of try to tap into that. Don't try to reach all 1,000 with each blog post. You're trying to periodically sprinkle in something that reaches them, and so they feel that connection. So I don't know if there's a correct order, how often to write what. For that, you should really just trust your gut, because in the end, it's also your blog,
right?
And so you want it to be a place. If writing constantly about particular financial products to make money or doing product reviews isn't something that really makes the blogging process fun, then you shouldn't force yourself into doing 30% make money posts or money revenue generating posts. A lot of people, when they write a blog, their goal is just to tell their story, and they may never do any try to publicize other bloggers. They're just treating it as a journal, and that's totally fine. So when you do think about how often to write in each bucket, you don't have to, there's no write 30%, 30%, 30%, and then 10% something else.
Yeah.
Right? You just kind of go with your gut. Just don't try to do, if you do like 99% all product reviews and trying to make money, then chances are your audience isn't going to be as close to you, because they don't know that much about you and they don't connect with you as well.
Right. And do you think that everybody has different buckets, or does everyone have the same buckets? So like, what are your buckets? And do you think that there are other ones that people could have a very specific one in mind, or if they're pretty much the same buckets across the board?
I think if you look at the total categories of goals, they're all the same, but they may not be a focus for every specific blogger. I have a friend who writes about being environmentally friendly on a corporate level. And her goal isn't to make money with the blog. It's to connect with other people, meet individuals in other organizations that are doing environmentally. They're like, I forget the name that she has. It's like sustainability. But there's sustainability folks in different corporations. Her goal isn't to generate advertising revenue. It isn't to sell a product, isn't any of that. It's to connect with other people in her industry and interview them for a podcast and just meet them and network. So she has zero in her make money bucket. Like, it exists if she were to want to focus on that. I'm sure there are certain programs and whatnot that she could do. But since that's not a focus, that's a bucket, but it's completely empty. And it's totally fine for her, because her goal is to connect with people, connect with readers, connect with other people in the sustainability industry. And so the buckets may be the same, but you may not want to do any advertising.
To utilize those buckets.
Yeah, because that's not why you started the blog.
What does transparency have to do with, ultimate goals of getting to know your audience or even making money?
It's more effective.
Right.
Because when you're focused, let's say you're doing a product review, and the purpose of the review is to obviously go through the product and talk about it and see, explain how you might use it, advantages, disadvantages. But also it's to potentially, if there's some sort of affiliate or advertising relationship, to generate income from that so that you can continue blogging. And people understand that when you're writing a product review, maybe there's a financial interest there. Maybe there isn't. Oftentimes, just to get coverage in an industry, you write about everything. And people get that. And I know that the FTC requires all the disclosures and everything like that. But, when you focus on, like, I want this article to generate income, you start thinking about it differently. You don't focus on necessarily as much storytelling. You focus more on how do you get a conversion, how do you get a sale. And so it does its job of making money better.
Right.
If you're telling a story and you want to connect with people and you want to hear their stories, like, if you focus on that and leave revenue generation or any of the other buckets out, you can think about it in the right way and you do a better job of it. You're not halfway in between.
So if you're writing a story that's very, personal or very, just leave money out of it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, don't add the affiliate links. Yeah. Don't add any of those things. Just keep it purely just for the purpose of getting to know your people.
Yeah. And what you can do is you can link out to other articles on your site that may be focused on, for example, that may be focused on making money. So maybe you're telling a story about how you set up your financial situation, and you may say, all right, I will have a bank account, an online bank account, because they're great, because they give you great interest and all these other things. You may link to a page on your site that talks specifically about what you think are the best features in a online savings account, and then list some affiliate links as well as whoever you think are the best, whether there's a way to make money or not. That is how that article can drive traffic elsewhere. So if someone is interested in the best online accounts, they can click through, but they don't feel like, when you're talking about how you're setting up your system and giving sort of a peek inside your world, they don't get distracted and they don't start thinking, wait, does he actually do this, or does he do this because he wants me to sign up for Bank XYZ?
Right. Just to go over them again, let's talk about the very specific buckets. So
Okay.
the first bucket would be money generation.
Money generation.
Right? The second bucket would be
Building relationships. So connecting with your readers, maybe connecting with other people in your industry,
yeah.
but just relationship focused.
So very purely focused on sharing your story, being
Connecting.
very just authentic and like
Yep.
having a cup of coffee with a friend.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then the third bucket is
This is something where maybe you're trying to like get traffic to the site. So you may write an article that is popular, but maybe doesn't have a personal connection with you, isn't sharing your story. And so that's just strictly to get either you think it's easily shareable on social media, or you think that, for whatever reason, it's something that you can get good search traffic to, something that gets more visitors that may not know you previously to your site.
yeah. I love that. I think that's a great idea, and I so appreciate you explaining that to us. So where
course.
can our friends find you?
I blog at wallethacks.com, and I love interacting with people on Twitter at wallethacks on Twitter. I don't know how to.
At
I've never said that out loud.
Hacks on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.